Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, starting 502 podcast with a big commitment. Louisville basketball is rolling, and we are going to get into that tonight on the episode. I'm Jacob Lane, once again stepping in for Presley Meyer. You know him. The beautiful Jake Hook is here, straight off of a weekend trip to Nashville. How are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm good. It was a long week. I had my bachelor party early last week and then went to Nashville this weekend, so my body is running on fumes. But Mo Camara gave me at least a couple more gallons.
Mo Camara gave you a couple. There we go, man. Love that. Welcome into the show. We're going to talk Louisville basketball tonight. If you're here for the first time, thank you for checking us out. Be sure to subscribe right here below on your screen here on YouTube, the State of Louisville, home to a ton of great content on the State of Louisville network. 3 original shows as well as a ton of other content. Follow us on social as well at the State of Lou, at Starting 502 on Twitter, of course on Instagram and Facebook as well. Jake, you mentioned it kind of off the top there. Louisville basketball has got a commitment. Honestly, I did not expect this. I'm not going to lie. Up until his commitment was broken by, I think it was a Travis Branham maybe. I've got so many different tweet notifications on from these analysts because I, as you know, I'm a portal savant and can't get enough of it. But I see a commitment, and it's Louisville, and it's Mouhamed Camara. Who? That guy doesn't sound Greece. Like he's from Greek, right? I mean,
No.
This name comes across my phone. I'm thinking it's going to be the other name that we talked about the other day here on Starting 502 podcast with Roman Kelly, which was Vangelos Zugris, and it is not. It is Mouhamed Camara. He becomes the official 10th member of this roster. As you remember, Khalifa ineligible. I'm going to get Jake's thoughts on that as we dive in some of the roster later into the episode. But Jake, this is a big commitment for Louisville in terms of the potential coming over to America, playing in the NBA Academy over in Africa. This is a 6'7", 215-pound kind of hybrid combo forward who can handle the ball, blocks a lot of shots. The dude is a human pogo stick, loves to run the floor. Comes over with decent numbers, having played professionally, if you will, in this academy now over in Africa for the last couple of years. This past season averaged almost 11 points, a little over 7 rebounds, and almost 4 assists, 3 steals a game. If you watch his highlights, it's a lot of fun because it looks like a video game, and the fact that it's just up and down, up and down. But I don't want to spoil all the fun, Jake. You are the resident basketball nerd here, the guy who will spend hours finding any NBA Academy Africa game that you can find, I'm sure, over the coming weeks. So tell me, just instant reaction, what are your thoughts on this for Louisville?
Yeah, I've watched 2 full games so far, and I will say human highlight reel. I mean, he can put together competitive tape with some of the best athletes I've ever seen. Now he is raw, and we'll get into that. But, I mean, dude has, like, the ideal basketball frame. 6'7". I was looking to see what his wingspan was. I can't find documentation on it, but I'm saying it's at least 7 foot.
Yes, I'm right there with you. I'm glad I'm not alone, man. My Google search history is an odd place to be sometimes because I'm trying to find Mouhamed Camara's wingspan, and it's taken me to all these places in which that doesn't exist. But I'm right there with you, man. The arms and the length, the block shots that I saw in the 15 different videos that I watched, it's just beyond impressive. And this kid is what, 18, 19, 20 years old? I don't really know how.
I believe he's 20 is what I saw on Basketball
Okay.
GM.
So that is the new freshman age, at least for the international players coming overseas, is 20. But like I mentioned, he's played professionally for 2 years over in Africa. And it looks like they've played in America quite a few times. I saw highlights of what looked like down at IGM, right, down in Florida. And some of the other teams that I saw them playing against looked like Iowa and some other AAU teams maybe. So, that's one thing that kind of comes to mind is the level of competition, because you mentioned when you watch his tape, it's impressive. The kid can play 1 through 5 for his team. But obviously when he comes to the college level, that's not going to be the case. So you start to try to look at what are the intangibles, kind of what can you pick up, what can he bring and what can he do, and kind of what impact can he bring. And I see this being a multi-year investment in terms of, you're going to need to develop him, spend some time really working on his skill and being able to transition into, the top 10, 15, roster in America and being able to play in college basketball at that level. But overall, you see the effort. You see the willingness to attack downhill. You see the ability to get out and run. Like, the dude doesn't wait, right? He is a human fast break. He just wants to go. He's like my 3-year-old son. Like, he just runs, right? I'm always like, where are you going? But there's nowhere. It's just urgency all the time. And then you add in the ability to slide his feet defensively. I really thought it was, for his age and just for his skill level and kind of where he is, to be able to slide his feet, stay with his defender with his body, and then still be able to have the hand-eye coordination to block a shot right at the rim. Obviously, you got your double hand block, you got your one hand blocks, you got your Dikembe Mutombo finger wag blocks. There's a little bit of everything on the defensive end. And then offensively, Jake, what do you think there? I know it's very raw, but I mean, the intangibles and the numbers at least show that there can be improvement very quickly.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him offensively, particularly in the half court, is I would not expect a lot. Maybe a backdoor cut. I think in the 2 games I saw, he posted up one time. He did hit a hook shot, but I don't really think that's much in his game. Some offensive rebounding could also be there, but you're not gonna really, I don't think at all this year, see him catch the ball 10 seconds left on the shot clock and go break his man down and take him to the basket. That's not something that he has just yet. But the one thing he does have on offense is a relatively decent three-point shot. The form does not look great, but in that run of NBA Academy games, he did shoot 37.5% from 3 on nearly 3 attempts per game. At the first game I watched, he hit 4 threes in the game. So he's confident. He's not taking guys off the dribble and shooting contested jumpers. He's not running off screens and, shooting fadeaways over guys. But when he's open, he will shoot it. And so I do think that's going to help him get on the court in year 1 and be able to maybe not thrive, but participate and help in this Pat Kelsey offense, because I think we saw a player who I think is kind of similar to him in Abubakar Traore. We loved him. We loved the effort. We loved the rebounding. We loved the defense. We loved him in transition. But if it was him and James Scott on the floor at the same time, it was just such a cluster in the paint, because those are 2 dudes that the defense did not respect. And so I think one great thing is this guy already does have a three-point shot. I would expect him to probably be like a low 30% three-point shooter when he came in, but it's enough to where the defense knows he can shoot it and the defense knows he will shoot it, so they can't just sag off on him.
Right. And when you're on the floor with, the Michael Brown Jr.'s and the, Isaac McNeely's of the world, right, and the Cason Pryors and the Sonny Frews, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. And for him, it can be the corner standalone jumper, right? Or it can be, cleaning up the rim on a putback dunk. Like, you can impact the game away from the ball, and that will have to be his role year 1, if there is a role. For me, this is not a rotation player next season. I think this is a depth piece, a guy that you develop when you are playing games that, you're blowing teams out, you're up by 20, you can get them in and, get 5-10 minutes out of them and help develop and see some potential. And then who knows, maybe he comes in and he thrives, and because of his experience playing, he's able to get on the floor quicker. We really don't quite know yet with these international players just kind of how developed they'll be and what that will look like transitioning to the college level, despite the fact that they're professionals, right? That's still kind of up in the air and to be seen. We've certainly saw this year with Igor Denham and with Kasparis over in Illinois.
And come on, Maliwatch, who was his teammate last year.
Right, exactly, right. You saw what these international players can be, and I saw it kind of floated around today that, he's from Senegal, obviously plays in this academy, and one of the things about Gorgui Dieng, another Senegalese player that Louisville has had, is his involvement in this academy and with the Basketball African League, where we've seen Louisville, go over and get a player before. And this is a guy that I believe his coach compared him to, Gorgui Dieng, in terms of his work ethic, his character. Give me 13 of those guys every day of the week with that skill level. And I think Pat Kelsey is going to have found himself another hidden gem if there's patience, and if he doesn't go into the portal after 1 year. The routine of this day and age where guy comes in, doesn't play, portal. Hopefully he'll stick around, because dude, if I can get some of these windmill dunks, you're talking about a T-Will level dunker for Louisville.
Yeah.
Like that, I haven't seen a guy doing windmills like that in a long time. Here's my prediction: bare minimum, Louisville Live Dunk Contest winner, Mouhamed Camara.
I will say, I think I do agree with you. He is very raw. and he has a lot of catching up to do. But with the frame that he already has and his ability on defense, I do think he'll be a consistent role player. Probably not more than 8 minutes a game, maybe 6, 8, 10 minutes a game. But I do think there is a lot that he can bring. I see him as kind of a hybrid, but at least what he could bring to our team, of what we had last year in Abubakar Traore, with the defensive versatility and the transition dominance, and then also what we had with Kenai Ruths, the streaky shooting, the highlight level plays that you kind of saw there. I kind of see him as, obviously he's not a combination of those two dudes and their skill, but
Right.
bringing both a little bit of both of what they did. So I do think that he'll at least have a consistent role, even if it is, just 6, 8 minutes a game. I do think that he has enough, especially on the defensive end, to warrant getting in every game.
Yeah, and that is going to be kind of the interesting thing with him, is does he have the kind of leg up in playing because of his frame, because of his intangibles, because of his experience, or does he come in and is he kind of your raw, non-ranked freshman, right? We just don't know kind of where it falls with these players yet, so it'll be really interesting to see. What would you say, 3, 4? Like, what is he in your mind? Like, how does he fit into the roster, into the rotation, into the minutes overall when you have Javon Hadley and you have Kenai Ruths and you have Kason Pryor and you have Sonny Frew and you have potentially Ali Khalifa and, not to mention you have 5 really, really good guards who can all play in a 3-guard lineup. How does this kind of impact that lineup distribution, or how you see him fitting in at that 3 or 4?
I think he can play 3, 4, or 5. I think ideally he is a 4, but I think he can play 3, and he could play really small ball 5, especially if he is able to have a consistent jump shot. But I think the way this roster is slated out right now, you'd probably see him more likely filling in that 4 or 5 role. That's where the holes are right now on this roster. I will say, in the game I watched, they played some Utah AAU team, and that team was bad, but they did have one guy. He's a 4-star combo guard. His name's Josiah Sanders. He's going to Colorado next year. And Mo was guarding him the whole entire game. When it was man-to-man, he was guarding him. And Josiah Sanders is 6'4" combo guard. And he was doing a pretty good job doing it. So the defensive versatility is there for him to play the 3 if he has to. But I think 4 is where we'll see him slot in the most.
Yeah, and look, I think that in the way that this system is built, they're not necessarily going to have a big burly, inside presence. Ali Khalifa obviously is, kind of contradicting that at this time. We'll see kind of where that bears out. But they like these rangy 6'8", 6'9" hybrid forwards who can also play the 5. And really, the 5 these days is the dunker spot, more so offensively, and then defensively. Can you block shots, and can you slide your feet on pick and rolls and switch over and guard a 3-4, right? And that's, a 1 or 2. And I think that's where there's a lot of excitement about his game, is that he can guard 1 through 5. And you can put him in at probably the 3 or 4, and I'd say the 4 is probably where he's going to have the most opportunity for minutes. But you can do a lot of different things with him, and even if it's, we saw them last year having to play Javon Hadley at the 5 for stretches. If you have to, because of injuries or foul trouble or whatever the case is, you can put him there. But I would say if he's going to have a professional career in the NBA. And not saying he's an NBA player at this point, or that he even will be, but if he's going to, it's going to be at that 3 or 4 spot, because of the fact that he is 6'8". He's undersized for a 4 or a 5, really. But he is 215, 220, so he's smaller. He's going to have to be able to put the ball on the floor more, generate at least at a minimum corner threes, and become a consistent shooter, and then be the guy who can guard your best offensive player night in and night out. And I think that he can develop into that role. Again, it's just a matter of, with time, does he have multiple years at one stop, or does the transfer portal call? That's just the day and age we're in.
Yeah, 100%. I can't remember, I think I was talking to my cousin about this guy, kind of describing him. And I was getting ahead of myself, and I was like, dude, in 2 or 3 years, this guy,
right.
And if for some reason 2027 is here and he is still on our team, he will be an all ACC player. I'm very confident in that. And if not that, he will be an all ACC defensive player at the very worst. But counting on guys being on your roster for more than one season is irresponsible at this point. But hopefully I could see him being here at least 2 years, hopefully.
Yeah, I would think maybe, I don't know how the eligibility shakes out. Is it sophomore, junior?
I mean, Sonny Fru's 21 years old, and he's a freshman, right? And this guy's 20.
I think technically, this is where my knowledge kind of falls off. I think technically they're sophomores or juniors, but I might be wrong. I don't really know because, again, school is involved. It makes no sense to me. That is for people who make a lot more money to decide. But at a minimum, I'm right there with you. I think that he could be, again, could is the potential, or is the key word there, could be at a minimum, all defensive player in the conference, but at his ceiling could potentially be the star of your team, the all ACC type of player that you mentioned. And I like his fit with this team. I like the guys he's going to be around, the dogs that are going to be kind of surrounding him, if you will, the Kason Pryors, the Kenai Ruths, right? We saw the aggression, that we saw the type of energy that they play with and the way that they can impact a game. That's just great to be guys, the guys that you're playing around and that you're kind of in line with on the depth chart. It's going to, push him to be better and push that group to be better. And to go back to the high school class or the signing class outside of the portal, we got to come up with all these new terms now because there's just you got European players and you've got African players and you've got American high schoolers and JUCO and all these guys now. But in Louisville's 2025 recruiting class, outside of the portal, they've got 3 players signed, Mikael Brown Jr., Sonny Fru, and Mo Camara right now. Expectations is, if you go to Jody Demling's site on Cardinal Authority, he wrote in his commitment article that Louisville expects to sign one more player. We talked about that player potentially being Vangelis Zugris. Jake, what are your thoughts on him and what you've seen out of another European player potentially being a guy that could come into the lineup and be another depth piece for Louisville?
Yeah, I will say definitely out of the 2 guys, Vangelis is much more ready to contribute on day one based on what I've seen. But he has such a unique play style. He, as far as I could tell in his 3 years of professional basketball in Greece, he has not attempted a 3-point shot, or at least he has not made one. I know for sure he's not made one. I don't know if he's attempted a 3-point shot either.
I love it.
I mean, true energy, effort player. I mean, the effort just pops even on the highlights. I mean, he's playing hard on defense. He's always crashing the boards. He's driving in headstrong. He's going off 2 feet. He's a 2-foot jumper on everything. So he's definitely a throwback kind of player that you really don't see at all, especially in Europe. You kind of associate those big men as being really skilled passers, shooters, all that.
That's right.
Yeah, and he is not that. He is head down, put his shoulder into your chest and get a basket, which I think is interesting because one thing we saw last year is we kind of got out-dogged at times. I don't know if that's the right word, but out-toughened. I don't know what word I'm looking for there, but teams
out-physicaled. I don't really.
Out-physicaled, yeah. Teams at times kind of beat us up, and some of that had to do with we were undersized. Javon Hadley's playing the 5, and he can only do so much down there. As tough as he is, we've only got 7 rotation players, so some of that is that. But I do think that the Vangelis guy is interesting, assuming he still signs, bringing a different aspect to this team, especially if a guy like Ali Khalifa is not eligible, where we will need more minutes from guys that can play the 4 and 5.
Yeah, I respect the analysis there with the old school, NBA big. He reminds me a little bit of Robert Traylor, who played in the 90s. Far less weight on him. I think Traylor played at
Thank God.
Yeah, 325 pounds or something. But just in terms of kind of his size and his build, he's a compact guy, 6'8", 260, 265. He is not a lateral big man by any means. I think that's kind of very glaring with him. But he is a guy I compared on the show last week, Jake, that is a guy that it plays like he's going to war, like he is in a war in combat. He is a guy that our good friend on the football side of things from the Pink Seats podcast, that Vincent Lococo, a resident MMA fighter, jiu-jitsu guy, would just love, this kind of energy. And we'll see what happens. We have no idea if that's the one. Louisville could be in on anybody at this point. the secrecy with this staff, man, and being able to keep things in the fold and being able to have no one in at least relative plain sight have any idea what's coming is really appreciative. But it certainly keeps us on our toes.
we thought Kenny Payne was secretive, but it just turned out he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, he just
this
literally
stuff is actually secretive.
Yeah. The G was not silent. I mean, it was silent, but it stood for go home. Like he literally did nothing but go home, right? Yeah. So this staff, they are silent, but they are working, and they have ties all over the world, and they're kind of flexing that here with Mo Camara, with potentially a guy like Vangelis Zugris, like Sonny Frew, and then, of course, Mikael Brown Jr., right, the number one point guard in the country. And we're going to get into over the coming weeks, like, what's your starting lineup and what's your rotation and all of that. But, look, Louisville right now has 10 players that are solid guys. They're going to have a really hard time deciding who gets minutes on this team, and potentially if they add another player. And then I still feel really confident that this team will bring Ali Khalifa back. I feel that his appeal is very much in a place that they will win. And the reason for that is he only played 3 seasons of college basketball. I don't know how we can't get past that. It's pretty glaring to me that last season was a medical redshirt. I don't know where, and I said this on the show, like that's the only thing that could potentially be the argument against him. But it was very much known that he had knee surgery and was out for the year.
Yeah, I don't understand. And then people were saying like he was eligible to return to practice, I think, at the end of February. But like being eligible for contact and to return to practice does not mean you're ready to play. I mean, and even if he was ready to play, 2-3 weeks after that, say he only played 5 games if he played at the end of March, that still would have been eligible for a red shirt as well.
Right.
So it still would have been a small enough amount of games to redshirt, though I don't know if I've ever seen anyone get hurt, play the last 5, and then redshirt after that. Typically, it's play, get hurt, then stop. Right. So yeah, I mean, we've got college football players who played 8 seasons, who not played but have been in college football for 8 seasons. Tyler Shuck was in college football for 7. It doesn't make any sense why they're having an issue with Ali. We'll say I had a dream about him last night, kind of odd.
Okay.
Don't often dream about men. In my dream,
let alone Louisville basketball players, but okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
This might be like a prophecy then. This is a vision of, like a very prominent biblical figure, Jake. Let's hear this prophecy.
It's not a good one. Unfortunately, he told I was talking to him and I don't remember what all happened in the dream, but at some point he just looked at me and goes, "I'm not going to be eligible."
Oh, damn. I was like, strike that from the record. That is not a prophecy. That is the opposite of a prophecy.
I've never been known to be prophetic, so
yeah,
wouldn't count on me.
Thank God, because we expect fully around here for Ali Khalifa to be eligible.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah,
based off of just math, right?
Yeah, outside of my dreams, I believe he will also be eligible.
Everybody outside of Jake's dreams believes that he will be eligible. We need to consult a dream book or something. Have you ever done like any of the digging deep into dreams or dream insights?
No, they're pretty typically negative. I try to forget them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so I've had this recurring dream of a plane like crash off in the distance. So I've often wondered like why. Like I've had that dream probably 500 times of like not being on the plane, but just being like, I'm driving on a highway and I look over and a plane crashes, but never really like knowing the meaning. And I've always been curious, but I've not looked it up. One time I did look up a bear attacking someone, and it was like the sign of secrets coming to life or something like that. I really don't remember.
Interesting.
So they don't really.
It was a lot like horoscopes where they could probably just say it means anything.
Yeah. Point being, though, those have a lot more.
What does my dream mean when Ali Khalifa tells me he's not going to be eligible? I'm going to look that up.
Lord have mercy. Hopefully, it means that he will be eligible and average 30 and 15. That's,
also, quick,
that's what I'm hoping for.
On top of that, is there any timeline to this legal dispute that is going on, or could it go into the season? Do you have any idea at all? I mean, I guess there's not. It's just on the NCAA.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no talent. We saw a waiver get filed and was announced last week for Devon Cambridge at Texas Tech. So I don't know, based off of when the waiver gets submitted, how long it takes them to review. But I mean, they have, I would imagine, hundreds, if not thousands, of players that are. Yeah.
Well, because all those guys were going into the transfer portal with no years of eligibility at one point.
Right. I mean, there are. We talked about it on last week. There are 15 plus very high level, power four and mid-major caliber starters and role players out there that are out of eligibility but are just waiting to see if maybe a ruling changes to give a fifth year or a sixth to play five, whatever the ruling would equate to. But we'll see. But as I mentioned, Louisville's roster right now stands at 10 members. They can sign up to 15. Sounds like maybe they'll get to 12 if Khalifa is back. We'll see if Khalifa doesn't return. If it comes to light quickly, maybe they pivot and try to enroll someone early from the class of 26. Maybe go out and get another international player. Hopefully that's not the case. Let's hope Jake's dream takes us in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
I want the YouTube commenters to shame Jake for his dreams.
I
please.
deserve it. Honestly, I was kind of afraid to tell you, but I thought I'd be honest.
I'm glad you did, because now we can, it's a safe space, but also the YouTube commenters can have their way with you. So, but Louisville, look, they're in a good spot. I in the power rankings that I have on State of Louisville, I've shared it a couple of times. Probably need to put it back out there. There's been some updates in the ACC today with one of Boston College's best guards going to Georgia Tech. But I've kept up with the power rankings, and I totally believe that Louisville has the best roster in the ACC. I believe that they are the number one team in the ACC. And despite Duke having Cameron and Caden Boozer and bringing in multiple five-star players, bringing back Isaiah Evans, who I think is probably going to be one of the most improved in the conference next year, I still believe that if Cedric Coward goes pro, Louisville has the best roster, and that's a damn good place to be considering where things have been. But it means that the target is on the back of Louisville now for the first time, really. There is no more hunting for Louisville. It is, it is being hunted by some of these other teams. And what are your thoughts, Jake, on, Louisville, Duke, North Carolina? You've kept up with some of these rosters, I imagine. Where do you kind of think the cards are right here as we head into, the middle of May?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be top two, and I think a lot of it is, in my mind, either us or Duke, and what's his name, Cowan, right, from Washington State?
Yeah.
Coward, yeah, from Washington State, if he goes. But from everything I've seen from the NBA Combine and how he tested and how he shot, he is likely going to be a first-round draft pick, so I don't expect him to come back to college. I know they're also looking at – who's that guy from France?
Dame
Sarr.
Dame
Sarr. But I don't really know a lot about him. I know he's the younger brother of the Sarr that got drafted by the Wizards last year,
Alex
right?
Sarr. Yeah, I believe so. I don't know if they're related, but that sounds right based off last night. You might have. I mean, I might have just gone along with it. I don't know. That's what act like. Fake it till you make it, right?
That's how the truth happens.
International flavor in the ACC. Virginia's got a big man who might be one of the best bigs in the conference. NC State got a big man from overseas who played, I believe, in Spain or in France at the top level. There's a lot of really good talent, but Louisville sits atop the ACC right now, in my opinion, with Duke, North Carolina, SMU, Clemson, Virginia, kind of nipping at the heels. And I think, once again, unfortunately, it will be a 3-bid league, or a 4-bid league max. I just don't see how this conference in the next 2 months is going to round out to be a 6-7 team conference tournament type of conference. But we will see. We've got a lot of offseason left, a lot of guys still in the portal. You never know. Might be a commitment before we even get this episode out. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We've got a lot coming here on the State of Louisville YouTube channel and overall on the podcast side of things. So be sure that you subscribe below. If you're on audio listening to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, be sure to subscribe. Give us a review and rating there. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on all social channels. Jake, keep being handsome, man. Enjoy what I imagine will be a Nashville weekend, either this weekend or next. The next time I talk to you,
they're always coming.
We never know what will be in the cards, what commitments will happen, but we'll have you covered here on Starting 502 Podcast. Jacob Lane, Jake Cook, let's get out of here. I'm going to go enjoy some Taco Bell. Shout out to you all out there for listening. Go Cards.
Go Cards.